To support me and this channel, please consider purchasing my novel, Gideon Star, The Shields of Gideon Prime, available on Amazon.com. Thank you so much for your support, and remember, keep writing. Protagonist. 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 Protagonist, okay. Okay, let me check someplace else. Protagonist. Protagonist. Some of the audience's need to identify with positively charged characters was transferred from Anakin to other members of the cast in the 3 prequel films, such as Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan, Queen Padme Amidala, and others. Nevertheless, a certain chilliness hangs over the prequel films, part of the artistic risk that Lucas took in attempting such a large and complex composition. Let's go to Wikipedia. Good old Wikipedia. There used to be encyclopedias, and now there's Wikipedia. A protagonist is... Rian Johnson, you madman, what have you done? Welcome back. My name is Neil Charran, and this is the Gideon Star Chronicler. I did it. I rewatched The Last Jedi, but I'm still not ready to do a review on it. I got distracted while watching it. I found something fascinating. I decided to take the review. Again, I promised you to take my heart out of it and just look at it as a movie onto itself. And I did that. I came with a critical mind. I still have my heart separated, but I came with a critical mind. And yeah. So I found myself asking, who's the protagonist? The protagonist. I mean, Rey's the protagonist, right? I mean, she's the one that has agency. No? I mean, she has agency because she did not convince Luke. That was more R2-D2 when he used the hologram of Princess Leia to remind Luke who he was and why he does what he does. He cares. Okay, so Rey did not connect with Kylo Ren. We found out that was Snoke doing that the whole time, and that their bond was made through Snoke. Okay. Rey took the Jedi books? No, Rey is not the protagonist. She's not the protagonist. Then who is the protagonist? It's Kylo Ren. Rey actually isn't the protagonist. And it's not Luke. It's not Finn. It's not Poe. It's not Admiral Holdo. Yes, the protagonist of The Last Jedi is Kylo Ren. The whole movie is, you can call subversion. It is, because even the last title, even the title, The Last Jedi, is meant to subvert expectations. The movie is about Kylo Ren And he's the protagonist, and Luke is the antagonist only to Kylo Ren's protagonist. Protagonists are neither good nor evil, and although Star Wars tends to traditionally stick to a hero's journey, this is the hero's journey, but for the villain. We watch as Kylo Ren and his character arc goes back and forth until a decision is made. Kylo Ren, as the protagonist in his character arc, starts out in one position and ends up in another one. Now, in traditional Star Wars lore, set up from the original trilogy, you have sort of almost a comic book type frame setup, which is kind of why Star Wars, I think, meets all worlds. It's a action adventure that is reminiscent of things like Flash Gordon or high swashbuckling adventures. But what is set up in the original trilogy is that there's this great empire led by the Emperor. There's basically a protagonist, or actually a few protagonists. Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Han Solo, turns out, Princess Leia, and there are a few villains. The Empire itself, an emperor that's not seen but is talked about, Darth Vader, and Grand Moff Tarkin. In the original Star Wars A New Hope, Grand Moff Tarkin was the arch nemesis. Darth Vader was the arch villain. The difference being the arch villain tends to be more active, tends to be more the centerpiece, whereas the arch nemesis is the one that really is the one that's the hero's challenge. In Empire Strikes Back, the arch villain still remains Vader, but moves to the Emperor, and then is really brought to the forefront in Return of the Jedi. And Luke is elevated in Empire Strikes Back and then Return of the Jedi. And that's been followed throughout. The arch nemesis in the prequel trilogies is Palpatine, and then you have arch villains Darth Maul, Count Dooku, also as Darth Tyrannus, and then finally Darth Vader, formerly Anakin Skywalker. And also sort of taking the same role in the prequels, it starts out with Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Padme Amidala. There are quite a few heroes, but Obi-Wan basically is elevated to the main protagonist. And as Anakin transitions from a secondary protagonist to the arch villain. So what we have here now is Kylo Ren as the arch villain, having basically a choice in the movie to become the hero, maybe an anti-hero, or the arch nemesis. In Last Jedi, the storytelling has him become the arch nemesis. That's his character arc, that's his story arc. Kylo Ren was attempted to be redeemed twice. Once by Han Solo and once by Rey. And he denied both of them, solidifying himself as the arch nemesis. In fact, when he killed Snoke, not Rey, not Luke, but Kylo Ren, killed Snoke, he elevated himself to the arch nemesis. When he took over as command as supreme leader of the First Order, he elevated himself to arch nemesis. when he went to go fight Luke, he elevated himself to arch nemesis, solidifying that role. I found that truly fascinating because you see, there's another movie that came out after, but was also in production during the Last Jedi, Avengers Infinity War, where Thanos is the hero of the story. We're watching the hero's journey of Thanos, which is another reason why that movie is quite off-putting. We find out the reasons why he does what he does, how he came to believe what he believed, and why he's doing what he's doing, and why he won't ever stop, and why he truly is the arch nemesis. He is the one that actually needs to be defeated. He is the ultimate evil that has to be overcome. I don't know if Rian Johnson caught wind of this and thought it was a great idea, or if this was it's very difficult to say. Nothing really happens in a vacuum, particularly nowadays. Whether it's Hollywood or the internet, ideas float around quite freely. So it's very hard to say if it was an original idea by Rian Johnson, if he borrowed it or just thought it was a great idea to make a villain's hero's journey, which would be another subversion, which he is known to do. M. Night Shyamalan is known for his twist endings, and Rian Johnson will be known for subverting tropes and storytelling ideas any way that he can, and hopefully it forms a cohesive story. I haven't seen Knives Out, and I've heard it's good. I look forward to seeing it on cable or Netflix or wherever it may show up, and I'll make an assessment more about Rian Johnson as a filmmaker and storyteller there. But just taking The Last Jedi, I sort of see what he's doing. I don't like it, but I respect it. As we can tell, Avengers Infinity War did it much, much better, and that is an issue for The Last Jedi. Much, much better. The Last Jedi did a couple of things. It, first of all, kind of forgot about The Force Awakens. There was a map to Luke Skywalker. Why? Sort of ignored. Kylo Ren, we're intimated that he turned to the dark side because the mask of Darth Vader spoke to him as his grandfather, and that's not really addressed as anything in the movie. In fact, the catalyst in the movie for Kylo Ren Breaking Bad, not to use something that Rian Johnson also directed at one point, but for Kylo Ren Breaking Bad, is that Luke tried to kill him in his sleep. And so this will be something I'll also address in my full review. But just sticking with the protagonist and the format, if you choose this in storytelling, which is actually, it's an excellent device. No Country for Old Men did it, as I mentioned, Avengers Infinity War did it. To a certain extent, I've mentioned before, James Bond is an anti-hero, but we're watching him be on a hero's journey. Logan to some degree. We've seen it. It does work. Unforgiven, Clint Eastwood, where the bad guys or the good guys are the bad guys, and you don't know which way they're going to fall, regardless of whether people love them or they have family or any of it. It is actually wonderfully done, but there needs to be more. So for one instance, particularly because we know these characters, we didn't get an explanation for what made Luke go so dark that he thought, even for a second, that killing his nephew who is the son of his sister and his best friend. Best friend that rescued him twice, once with the Death Star and once in the freezing cold on Hoth, saved his life. A friend he returned the favor to, bonded his brothers, why he thought killing this boy in his sleep, even for a second, was something to do. Maybe if we were shown what Luke saw, maybe if we weren't told in sort of a Rashomon style, which sort of says, hey, you decide what you think the truth is, maybe it would work. Because the thing is when you make the bad guy the hero, when you make the bad guy the protagonist of the story, I should say, there's a lot more that needs to be pulled in to join us, because we all recognize he's the bad guy and someone to be defeated. So what is it that you're trying to get across to us by having us go through this journey? So we need more from the story and from the storyteller when there's a decision that's made that the villain is going to be the hero of the story. And I'm using protagonist and hero interchangeably to represent the hero's journey, to remind you and myself, actually, that it's the hero's journey that's being utilized, at least for Star Wars. And what we need more from the storyteller when the villain is the protagonist. It's just, for the most part, general audiences, the audience that you're trying to reach, doesn't necessarily ever associate themselves with the villain. Even in their own stories, they're heroes. So it's understandable. And I'll use Thanos from Avengers Infinity War. What does he really need? Well, in a way to answer the question, Thanos is actually afraid. He's afraid that the population of the universe is unsustainable. And the only way to set everything right is to wipe out half the existence. He needs to conquer that fear by fulfilling what he wants, which is the Infinity Stone, to snap half of the universe out of existence. So Thanos' wants and needs, whether we agree with them or not, are clear and understandable. Kylo Ren's wants and needs, we need to understand why you're doing what you're doing. And so therefore, it is important for the storyteller to give us, through storytelling, the wants and needs of the character. What does Kylo Ren want? What is Kylo Ren after? What is his goal? And then what does Kylo Ren need? I don't really have an answer for that right now. I've been thinking about it. I guess he wants... Well, so that's the whole point. We're watching his wants and needs conflict with each other. Thanos, in Infinity War, wants the Infinity Stones. Why does he want the Infinity Stones? He wants the Infinity Stones because he wants to snap half of all life forms in the universe out of existence. Why does he want to do that? Because he believes that in doing so, he will save the universe. He will save the universe. What does he need? He needs to fulfill that. Why? Somewhere deep within him, when his people died off, when he created this hypothesis of killing half of them, everyone thought he was wrong. He was the mad Titan. He needs to prove everyone wrong. He needs to see this through, to show everyone, to show himself that this is the right way, the only way. And we need to see that. And we did. In Infinity War, we did. In Last Jedi, I'm not entirely sure what we saw. So what does Kylo Ren want? He wants to stop the Resistance, I think. Well, what does Kylo Ren need? He needs to fulfill his grandfather's legacy as Darth Vader. But that was in The Force Awakens. What does he need in The Last Jedi? What does he need? Kylo Ren says, let the past die. Kill it if you have to. Is that his want? That's the analysis. I actually am not 100% sure what his wants and needs are. I actually look forward to your comments because I really am at a loss. I believe he wants to let the past die and kill it if he has to. But that want is, it's not strong enough of a motivation for all the actions that he's doing. And then in terms of giving us the character as the protagonist, what's his needs? What does he actually really need? Does he need a hug from his mom? Does he need to fulfill a higher purpose, and he's doing so using the dark side, or has gone astray because he feels he needs more power? I'm really honestly at a loss. I will think about it and try to come back to it when I do my full Last Jedi review. But these are the things that actually make the Last Jedi what it is. It divided an audience. So to take another movie, The Joker, many of my friends and I discuss it, and is what's happening real? Is it not real? There's a whole bunch of things the director, Joaquin Phoenix himself as the actor, did to indicate different things, but we're not 100% sure, particularly because of the ending, what in its totality we watch. And it's interesting. It's an interesting dialogue to have. The Last Jedi divided people. The Joker did not. And I'm actually both surprised and impressed because I think Rian Johnson pulled an Achilles. He will be remembered in history for this. This is all very fascinating. I really do think The Last Jedi will be talked about for years. It's something that is to be analyzed, to be pulled apart. It divided an audience. I can tell you what I felt, but the reality of it is very fascinating, because in trying to subvert storytelling structure, storytelling norms, he created some other monster that we all have to live with, because it was the 8th story that we came across. So we have seen authors do this. We have seen storytellers do this. I mean, we can imagine it because J.K. Rowling is giving us her own prequels, and the story is not matching up with what we know of the Harry Potter universe, the Wizarding universe. It is fascinating. It is fascinating to witness. We should not ignore it. We should not ignore our feelings, and we should not ignore what it is that we're sensing. We really need to go into it. It will make us better storytellers. So I have a lot more to say about this and a lot more to come. Thanks to you guys, because it really is forcing me to come to terms with myself. It's helping me grow as an author and a storyteller as well. I don't want these pitfalls. I'll have other pitfalls, but I don't want these particular. So I look forward to being on this journey with you. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I really, really look forward to your comments below and to hear your thoughts. What are Kylo Ren's wants and needs? I honestly would love to know. I'm at a loss. I'm trying to pull that together, and I really would love for you guys to give me something to hold on to, and use as an anchor as I review The Last Jedi in full. Thank you so much. If you want to support me or this channel, please consider buying my book on Amazon.com. There's a link in the description below. It is a pleasure building this community with you, and keep writing.